When I go to the grocery store wearing my clergy collar, people talk to me differently. They tell me their prayer request in the cereal aisle. They even bring up trauma that they have never said out loud. They tell me why they left their church or why they love their church. And this happens constantly. I think that visible sign, my clergy collar, becomes permission. People assume that it's safe to go deeper. Welcome to the Sacred Narratives podcast. I'm Rachel. I'm a pastor who thinks that our real lives matter to our faith. We explore what this means each week at Sacred Narratives. During Lent, we are shaping our scripture exploration around the question, can we skip to the good part? In our past episodes, we have explored stories where on the mountain, the disciples wanted to just stay in the good place in glory. In the wilderness, Jesus refuses to build God's reign through domination. With Nicodemus, belief began at night and moved slowly toward daylight. This week's scripture from John chapter 4 brings us the longest recorded conversation that Jesus has with anyone in any of the Gospels. It happens with a Samaritan woman whose name we do not know. This story has often been preached like she's immoral and Jesus rescues her. We read shame into it. We read scandal into it. But the text doesn't say that. I was surprised to learn how different marriage in the ancient world was from modern romance. Women rarely controlled divorce. Remarriage often followed death, economic necessity, coercion, or abandonment. And we do not know this woman's story. What we do know is that Jesus names her situation. You have had 5 husbands, and he keeps talking. He doesn't fixate, he doesn't humiliate. And just as importantly, she doesn't retreat. She asks a theological question. She leans into the hard part of the conversation instead of stepping away from it. We talk all the time about how we don't discuss politics because things get heated. I hear constantly when I'm wearing my collar or in the comment section on videos that clergy shouldn't talk about politics, that religion and politics aren't polite conversation, or they should only be kept in the church, or that those topics should be avoided altogether. We avoid depth because it makes us vulnerable. But depth is where transformation happens. The woman at the well risks depth. She risks disagreement, and she risks being fully seen. Our ancestors worshipped on this mountain, but you say the place where people worship is in Jerusalem. That's from John chapter 4, verse 20. Samaritans and Judeans shared ancestral roots, but they had been divided for centuries by conquest, relocation, and temple politics. The Samaritan temple on Mount Gerizim had been rejected and eventually destroyed. You can still see the ruins there today. However justified these second Jerusalem temple boundaries were historically, the lived experience of this woman and her community was worship felt controlled by leaders who were far from her social location. She's called the woman at the well, and from this well, you can see Mount Gerizim, and you can see where the temple would have been visible. She's asking from a place of exclusion. Where do people like me belong? Where do people like us belong? And Jesus responds, God is spirit, and those who worship God must worship in spirit and truth. That's verse 24. He continues, I am he, or ego eimi. I am the one who is speaking to you, verse 26. I am the Messiah, the one God promised, the one who restores what was fractured, the one who gathers what has been scattered. And he says it here, at this well, to her. Not in the temple in Jerusalem, not in some controlled space, but here, at a well. The text tells us that she leaves her water jar and she goes back to the town and she says, come and see a man who has told me everything I have ever done. That's verse 29. How she invites others to Jesus is remarkable. She doesn't present a theory. She doesn't defend herself. She just tells what happens. He told me everything that I've ever done. Her experiences went from being personal and generational baggage to being this asset. And many from the city come to belief because of her word. This story arc is simple. There's exclusion and separation. Then there's an encounter, which leads to personal belief and community change. And this pattern still holds. Right now, across communities, anxiety is high. Student debt, political rhetoric that escalates, wars that are beginning, future that feels unstable. On a personal level, things are just as heavy. A bad biopsy result, a parent who needs more care than anyone knows how to give, the job that could disappear, a worry if you're doing enough for your kids. The woman at the well understood something so critical about the gospel, that it is supposed to be good news. Nobody is lying awake hoping that someone wins a religious argument. Nobody is craving manipulative altar calls, fear-driven hell tactics, or culturally insensitive evangelism that erases history and bulldozes identity. Of course, most people are hesitant to talk about faith or have lost faith in God and humanity alike. If you have been hurt by religion, if faith has felt controlled by somewhere else, this story doesn't begin with condemnation. It begins with a conversation. If you felt excluded, this story doesn't center in a religious place. It's at a well. The good news in Jesus came to her. She and her people were never abandoned, and neither are you. If you already belong to a faith community, the narrative movement of spreading the good news remains the same. You experience a meaningful connection with God. You live into this inward change with outward actions. Then you share the experiences that you have. You invite others. Evangelism is not some abstract or something that you can script. It's personal. It's how you have changed and been impacted, or why your beliefs make you a better person. Like the woman at the well says, it's simple. Come and see. It's not pressure. It's not performance, but it's a full participation. We were never meant to carry our faith alone. Community has always been the point. And maybe that's the good part that we've been trying to skip to. Belonging. And this hard, honest work of building true belonging together. This story is layered and contains so much depth. Did you know that in the Eastern Orthodox tradition, this woman at the well is revered as a saint? She's named Saint Fotini, or the Enlightened One. She's not remembered because of a scandal, but as a bold witness. If you want to go deeper in this text, the history, the theology, the discipleship layers, I've created an online course called A Deep Well. It's available at www.sacrednarratives.com. I could talk about this story forever, but we cover so much more. Join us each week on this podcast and at sacrednarratives.com to receive a weekly narrative just like this one in your email inbox. Follow us on social media. Our link tree is in our profile, and join us each week in Lent as we ask the question together, can we skip to the good part?